Trump is going back on the road to have rallies in the battleground states that he wants recounted. There's going to be scorched earth. There's a whole lot of pardons coming. In other words, no matter what happens, it's party time. The networks are working overtime to sell the idea, to sell it to you, that Biden is the president. Now, I'm not saying that these results are going to be overturned, because a lot of this is going to hinge on, it really comes down to, will the Supreme Court take it up? And they've got two ways they can play it. On the one hand, they can say, we really can't put the American people through this. We can't have them questioning the integrity of the election. These results stand. On the flip side, they can say the integrity of the election is of grave concern to all Americans and they need to be able to trust it. Therefore, there are enough irregularities being alleged and there is enough evidence here. We need to move forward on this. Either way, it comes down to, will the Supreme Court hear it? If they do, I believe that there's going to be issues right away in Pennsylvania. Remember what the issue at hand there is. The governor circumvented the legislature when it came to extending the voting deadline. It was kicked to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court basically said, we don't want to handle this. Kicked it back to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, which had already stepped in and said, you know, what the governor wants to do is fine. But see, the way it works in Pennsylvania, because this is the constitutional system, the Constitution has set it up so that each state regulates how they're going to conduct an election. And it has to be decided among the legislature of those states. The governor doesn't get to do it by executive order. An election official, the Secretary of State, etc., they don't get to just change the election rules in their state on a whim. It has to go before the legislative body and be voted on. Well, the Pennsylvania legislature did vote, and they told the governor, no, you're not extending the deadline. He went ahead and did it anyway. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court said, that's good for us. The U.S. Supreme Court punted, kicked it back to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Now, Justice Alito stepped in, and he said, I want every vote that comes in past 8 p.m. on election night segregated, separated, secured, set aside. See, I got a little theory on that. For Justice Alito to step in and do that, I think we got to have a pretty clear indication that the Supreme Court is going to hear this case. Because even though he has the authority, the jurisdiction to do this without the rest of the justices, ultimately, for there to be a final decision and a final weight to what he said, then all the justices have to weigh in on it. Trust me, he already took a straw poll among the justices. And again, whether you are Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, even on that Supreme Court, the liberal justices don't want there to be shenanigans that are allowed to just go unchecked, because at some point Republicans will start figuring out how to do this better than the Democrats. And so they've got to set the tone. And so I'm thinking we already have a clear indication that he's going to throw those votes out. And remember what happened. Most of us went to bed at a normal hour. Well, I went to bed at 3 a.m. on election night. Trump was ahead almost 700,000 votes in Pennsylvania. And within 24 hours, it was gone. Oh, come on. Come on. That doesn't even pass the laugh test. They had stopped counting because at that point they had a clear indication of about how many votes they were going to need to extra to put Joe Biden across the finish line, and they needed time to print them and get them ready. And yes, there is video evidence of poll workers in Pennsylvania, in where it was being counted, filling out blank election ballots for Joe Biden. Those videos keep being pulled off of Facebook and YouTube with, their official disclaimer that, oh, no, Pennsylvania election officials said that these people were merely fixing damaged ballots. Yet the funny thing is These people, and somebody was standing right over them and filmed this. They're sitting there with a stack of blank ballots. They're filling them out for Joe Biden, stamping them, and sending them on. Now, if there is a damaged ballot, it takes one Republican, one Democrat to stand there, look at the ballot. They both agree, yep, it's damaged. This information needs to be put onto a better ballot. But they have to agree, yep, this is what the voter wanted, so that the integrity of the vote and the voter is protected. There's no witnesses. There's just this woman filling out blank ballots. This is happening in Pennsylvania. Philadelphia wouldn't let the inspectors in. Didn't even matter that there was a court order. Wasn't going to let it happen. When they got in, they had to stay 20 feet away. Really? You put a piece of paper on a table, back up 20 feet and tell me what it says. So there's no doubt there is going to be, on purely legal ramification or legal setting, a problem for Pennsylvania. This isn't Trump sour grapes. This isn't Trump supporter sour grapes. There's real problems in Pennsylvania, and I believe the Supreme Court is going to hear this, and they're either going to tell you recount, or they're going to throw out all those votes that made up the gap. Bum, ba-dum, bum. Michigan already, they are in trouble because they've already acknowledged that they had to flip 6,000 votes back to Trump because of a computer glitch, and we find out that 47 other counties in their state use the same software. Minnesota, razor thin. Things are trending toward the president in Arizona, and Georgia will probably get a recount as well. So that's where we are with all of this. And the president is within his legal rights to do this, and he wants to take to the road again, have Trump rallies in these places to put the pressure on. Wasn't it amazing over the weekend how once the networks decided to call this thing for Biden, that immediately there were just celebrations and euphoria in the streets, and now everybody's talking about we need to come together. We need to come together. They don't really want to come together. And the media, especially faux pas news, formerly known as Fox News, trying to convince you that yes, this is it. The fix is in for Joe Biden. And a newsflash, medias, they don't decide who the president is. Number one, the voters do. And then when it gets certified by the Secretary of State, and then the Electoral College has to meet. So I know the media is rather full of themselves, but this is where we're at. And this narrative, this false narrative, has to be pushed back. Now, in the worst case scenario, if this doesn't go in the president's favor, he's got some good things that are happening right now that have got Democrats really, really, really nervous. The vaccine from Pfizer, 90% effective rate. Governor Cuomo over in New York, he's getting a backlash for basically saying nobody should take the Trump vaccine. Again, Donald Trump was not in a lab coat making the vaccine. You are putting people's lives in danger by keeping them away from the experts and the science, because trust me, Joe Biden did not want Donald Trump to solve COVID on his watch, because that was the key thing that people in the exit polls that did answer them did say that they felt Trump was much better on the economy. And Shazam, Batman, on Friday, more economic news came out, and we've dropped to 6% unemployment. But the voters did feel that Biden would be better on COVID. And over the weekend, Biden talked about his national mask mandate. And on Monday, out comes President Trump to say, no, not going to be needed because we've got the vaccine and it's 90% effective. And then to really infuriate the left, Dr. Fauci, who certainly doesn't like Trump, he did come out and say, wow, this is incredibly impressive what Pfizer has done. Bum, ba-dum, bum. Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. You mean the great Dr. Fauci hath spoken? Now, if Trump really wanted to have some fun, depending on, again, how all these results play out, Mr. President, start handing out pardons. And the kind of pardons that the extreme left has wanted, and they'll never get under Biden. Pardon Edward Snowden. pardon Julian Assange. In other words, Mr. President, break all their toys. I mean, just break all their toys. Leave Biden in a situation where the so-called mandate that he had, COVID, is gone. And people will refuse the national mask mandate and they will refuse a national shutdown because the vaccine will be in place and all people have to do is, as we get into January after the inauguration, the vaccine is out, it's being distributed, and people at that point will push back. Even the ones that right now are afraid, they will push back and they will say to the new president, no more masks, no more locking us down. We've got the vaccine. We're going on with our lives now. Bum, ba-dum, bum. And then you get the far left media talking about, it was President Trump that got us out of all those endless wars in the Middle East. Yep. It was President Trump that pardoned Edward Snowden and Julian Assange and really struck a blow for freedom of speech. Yep. And when Joe Biden, at about springtime, starts ramping up, to pay back the industrial military complex, that we need to, who is it going to be? Who are we going to go to war with? Syria? Probably. Then the far left will say, wait a minute. Trump was the anti-war, pro-freedom guy, and the guy we helped get, because they held their nose and they voted for Biden thinking that they were going to get something. I mean, Trump could do such a 4D chess move. So whether he stays in office or doesn't stay in office, it's a win-win for Trump. Because he's not going to go away. He's going to stay out and very vocal. He'll be everywhere, and he'll still be actively engaged. And I think he'll even continue, even after his presidency, to have rallies. And you didn't hear a peep out of the Biden people about all these Biden-Harris love fests that were breaking out everywhere over the weekend, and no one with social distancing. Breathe, everybody. It's gonna be okay. Breathe.